The Administration in Office Management Lecture 3 talks about centralization and decentralization. When you say centralization, it is said to be a process where the concentration of decision making is in a few hands, and all the important decisions and actions at the lower level are all subjects and actions at the lower level are subject to the approval of top management. Now, according to Allen, centralization is the systematic and consistent preservation of authority at central points in the organization. Now, the implication of centralization can be the following: reservation of decision-making power at top level, and then reservation of operating authority with the middle level managers, and then reservation of operation at lower level at the directions of the top level. Now, under centralization, the important and key decisions are taken by the top management, and the other levels are into implementations as per the directions of top level. For example, in a business concern, the father and son, being the owner, decides about the important matters, and all the rest of the functions like the product, the finances, the marketing, the personnel are carried out by the department heads, and they have to act as per instruction and orders of the two people, which is the father and son. Therefore, in this case, decision making power remain in the hands of the father and the son. On the other hand, decentralization is a systematic delegation of authority at all levels of management and in all of the organization as a whole. Now, in a decentralization concern, authority is retained by the top management for taking major decisions and framing policies concerning the whole concern. Now, rest of the authority may be delegated to the middle level and lower level of management. The degree of centralization and decentralization will depend upon the amount of authority delegated to the lowest level, that is according to LM. That decentralization refers to the systematic effort to delegate to the lowest level of authority, except that which can be controlled and exercised at the central points. Now, decentralization is not the same as delegation. In fact, decentralization is all extension of delegation. Decentralization pattern is wider is in scope, and the authorities are diffused to the lowest most level of management. Okay? Now, the delegation of authority is a complete process and takes place from one person to another, while decentralization is complete when fullest possible delegation has taken place. For example, the general manager of a company is responsible for receiving the leave application of the whole of the concern. Now, the general manager delegates his work to the personnel manager, who is now responsible for receiving the leave applicants. In this situation, delegation of authority has taken place. On the other hand, on the request of the personnel manager. Now, if the general manager delegates this power to all the department heads at all levels, in this situation, decentralization has taken place. So see the differences. Now, there is a saying that everything that increasing the role of subordinates is decentralization, and that decreases the role is centralization. If I may repeat, everything that increasing the role of a subordinate is decentralization, and that decreases the role of centralization. Now, decentralization is wider in scope, and the subordinate's responsibility increase in this case. On the other hand, in delegation, the managers remain answerable, even for the acts of subordinates to their superiors. Now, what are the implications of decentralization? There is less burden on the chief executive as in the case of centralization. In decentralization, the subordinates get a chance to decide and act independently, which develops skills and capabilities. This way, the organization is able to process reserve of talents in it. In decentralization, diversification and horizontal can be easily implanted. For in decentralization even, concern diversification of activities can place effectively since there is more scope for creating new departments. Therefore, diversification growth is of a degree. Okay? Now, in decentralization structure, operations can be coordinated at a divisional level, which is not possible in the centralization setup. In the case of decentralization structure, there is greater motivation and morale of the employees since they get more independence to act and decide on matters. In a decentralization structure even, coordination to some extent is difficult to maintain as there are many department divisions and authority is delegated to maximum possible extent. For example, to the bottommost delegation reaches. Okay? Centralization and decentralization are the categories by which the pattern of authority relationship became very clear. Now, the degree of centralization and decentralization can be affected by many factors like nature of operation, volume of profits, number of departments, size of a concern, and many more. So therefore, the larger the size of a concern, a decentralization setup is suitable in it. Now, learn management concept and skills rapidly with easy to understand. Is richly self-paced. That's it. Informal organization. How does the informal organization affect the performance of a company? Up to this point, we have focused on formal organization structures that can be seen in the boxes and lines of the organizational chart. Yet, many important relationships within the organization do not show up on an organizational chart. Nevertheless, this relationship can affect the decisions and performance of employees at all levels of the organization. The network of connections and channels of communication based on the informal relationship of individuals inside the organization is known as the informal organization. Informal relationship can be between people at the same hierarchical level or between people at different levels and in different departments. Now, some connections are work-related, such as those formed among people who carpool or ride the same train to work, or others are based on non-work commonalities, such as belonging to the same church or health club or having children who attend to the same school. Now, the functions of the informal organization. The informal organization has several important functions. First, it provides a source of friendship and social contact for organization members. Now, second, the interpersonal relationship and informal groups help employees feel better informed about the connected with what is going on their firm, thus giving them some sense of control over their work environment. Now, third, the informal organization can provide status and recognition that the formal organization cannot or will not provide employees. Fourth, the network of relationships can aid the socialization of new employees by informally passing along rules, passing along responsibilities, and basic objectives and job expectations. Now, finally, the organizational grapevine helps employees to be more aware of what is happening in their workplace by transmitting information quickly and conveying it to the places that the formal system does not even reach. Okay? Now, the informal communication channels. The informal channels of communication used by the informal organization are often referred to as the grapevine or the rumor mill. Managers need to pay attention to the grapevines in their organization because their employees increasingly put a great deal of stock in the information that travels along with it, especially in this era of social media. A recent survey found that many business leaders have their work uh, have their work cut out for them in the speeches and presentation they give their employees. Um, Now, survey participants were asked if they would believe a message delivered by in a speech by a company leader or one that they heard over the grapevine. Now, findings have provided that 47% of those responding said they would put more credibility in the grapevine, and only 42% said they would believe senior leadership. And another 11% indicated they would believe a blend of elements from both. Okay? From both messages. And perhaps even more interesting is how accurate employees perceive their company grapevine to be. 57% gave it favorable ratings. Now, the grapevine may not be a wholly accurate, but it is very reliable indicator that something is going on. Said one of the respondents. Okay, with this in mind, managers actually need to learn to use the existing informal organization as a tool that can potentially benefit the formal organization. An excellent way of putting the informal organization to work for the good of the company is to bring informal leaders into the decision-making process. That way, at least, the people who use and nurture the grapevine will have more accurate information to send it. Now, smart managers understand that not all of the company's influential relationships appear as part of the organizational chart. A web of informal personal connections exists between workers, and vital information and knowledge pass through this web constantly. Now, using social media analysis software and other tracking tools, managers can now map and quantify the normally invisible relationship that form between employees at all levels of an organization. Now, how might identifying a company's informal organization help managers foster teamwork, motivate employees, and boost productivity? So that's the basic questions. Okay. There, no. I guess I have imparted, no. So the areas of concern regarding the organization. Therefore, centralization and decentralization, formal and informal, organization are being discussed. So till next lecture, thank you very much for listening.